Hi and Assalamualaikum. We will start the session in 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
We will start in a minute. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, our parallel session will begin shortly. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished chairperson, lecturers, presenters, and participants. Welcome to the parallel session in the International Conference on Media and Communication, or MENTION 2021. My name is Elida Najwa, and I will be the MC for today. I will be assisted by Sharveshwaran in this parallel session. This is session A6 with the theme Media Literacy. The chairperson for this session is Associate Professor Dr. Sabaria Muhammad Saleh. We have 4 paper presenters today. Each presenter is given 10 to 15 minutes of presentation time. If any of the presenters could not give a live presentation due to internet problems, we will play back their video, but we hope that the presenter is available for question and answer session later. Without further ado, over to you, Associate Professor Dr. Sabaria Muhammad Saleh. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alida. Thank you for the warm introduction. Hello, everyone. I'm Sabaria. I believe I know most of you here. Welcome to the session on media literacy. And I look forward to listening to all your papers. Okay, there will be an award given for best presenter. So all the best to everyone. Okay. So just wanted to let you guys know as well that on the 3rd day or on the 25th, there will be a special networking session on media literacy and society, whereby we would have people or representatives from UNESCO, Fact Check Lab Malaysia, and also our first Association of Media Literacy Educators in Malaysia will also be there. So looking forward to see you guys there as well. Okay, without further ado, I would like to invite our first presenter, Ali Reza Azri Martin, to do his presentation. A little bit of a background on Ali. I actually know him personally when he did his PhD at the International University of Malaya, Wales. He recently graduated with a PhD. Congrats, Dr. Ali Reza.
Thank you.
And the title of his presentation today is Totalitarianism Under the Aegis of COVID-19, a critical analysis of media events enacted by Iran's supreme leader. So over to you, Dr. Ali.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sabaria, for the introduction. Yeah. And all right, we begin the presentation. Let me just see, I can share the screen with you. Maybe you can, one of you confirm that can see that.
Yes, we can see that, Dr. Ali.
See the slides, right?
Yes, we can
All
see
right.
the slides.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name, of course, as Dr. Sabaria mentioned, Ali Reza Azari Metin from International University of Malaya, Wales. And the title I'm presenting today is Totalitarianism Under the Aegis of COVID-19, a critical analysis of media events enacted by Iran's supreme leader. Well, since beginning of the global pandemic, Iran has always been at top of the list of the countries worst hit by coronavirus. Although so far, official statistics show over 6 million infections and more than 130,000 COVID-related deaths, unofficial sources suggest that such numbers are at least 3 to 5 times more. These alarming figures alone, not to mention the lack of transparency in reporting them, simply point to now, in media and communication studies, it is widely understood that mass media have a major role in construction of social reality. And the theories in this field, such as press theory, and you may know about propaganda theories, also suggest that in authoritarian countries, mass media function to serve the interests of the elites, giving them the right to exercise their power through these means of communication, and ultimately shape the social reality, or some may call it dominant ideologies, status quo, etc. One particular way to do so is through media events. In terms of characteristics, media events are defined as live broadcast events, activities, or experiences conducted for the purpose of media publicity, with often historical significance. Of media events is to enable a society to assemble, reflect on, and legitimate its establishing institutions. Now, in this study, I argued that the current conditions in Iran is the result of the fundamentalist nature of the country's political system, and that during national crisis, the state's repressive efforts are increased to take the most out of the social instability. To exemplify this, I identified and reflected on a series of chronological media events enacted by Supreme Leader. It's a critical analysis revealing the ideological basis of these media events and their devastating consequences for the nation, of course. Now, the first media event took place right after the healthcare officials reported the Iran's parliamentary election and also Islamic Revolution anniversary. At this point, the Supreme Leader appeared in a live broadcast calling coronavirus a hoax made up by Iran's enemies to frighten away people from the voting polls and, of course, annual demonstration. The second media event was just a few days before the fourth peak of pandemic on 8 January 2021. As the Supreme Leader appeared again on another live broadcast to announce the ban on the import of Western vaccines, right at the time when people were desperate for these reliable vaccines. In his speech, Khamenei called the Western countries untrustworthy and their offerings of vaccines to poor nations a plot to exterminate Islamic nations. Media events showcase Khamenei again as he was receiving an Iranian vaccine, supposedly Iranian vaccine, which up until now, scientific community. This apparently staged symbolic gesture was then followed by his short speech as he tried to emphasize Iran's independence and technological superiority over the West. And lastly, we come to the conclusion of this short review, which pointed to the consequences of the state's control over media during pandemic. This was exemplified through identifying and reflecting on a new hegemonic trend that was media itself took the center stage to deliver a series of ideological take advantage of the unfolding conditions of coronavirus indeed, and in line with states' political and ideological agendas. More specifically, the study tried to show that pandemic in Iran provided an opportunity for the state to further its exploitation of mass media, including maintaining their anti-West ideological position white events. Throughout counter-hegemonic efforts included various social media campaigns, writing anti-regime slogans on banknotes, boycotting 2021 presidential election, and many other forms of resistance to power. And with that, I would like to thank you for listening to this short presentation, and open for any question to answer.
Thank you so much, Ali. It's very interesting to know or to see what types of disinformation is spread in Iran, especially in relation to the hegemonic power of your supreme leader. I believe that we also have other presentations, but on a Malaysian context regarding this matter. I have actually asked other people or our audience here to post any questions that they have in the chat box. So I think what we shall do is that we will collect all the questions and have the Q&A at the end of the session. Is that okay with you,
All
Dr.
right.
Ali?
Sure.
Cool.
Definitely. Thank you.
You so much. Thank you so much for the short but very succinct and I believe it's quite comprehensive your explanation. I believe it's a I as a person who studies this information I like it. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. So our next presenter is Prof. Dato Dr. Ismail Swalman. So Prof. Dato is a professor at the Communications and Media Studies Faculty of University Technology Mara. His area of expertise is health communication, political communication, and media studies. I myself have attended several seminars in which I had the pleasure of listening to Prof. Dato speak about political communication at that point of time. Cannot wait to listen to his presentation on a content analysis of COVID-19 fake news during the movement control order of 2020. So over to you, Dato. Prof. Dato, are you here?
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Sabaria, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going, yeah, are you hear me? Hello, are you hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you, Dato.
Hello?
Dato, yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay, we're going to look the issues of COVID-19 in Malaysia, and our topic is content analysis of COVID-19 fake news information during the MCO 2020, and my friend from MCMC. Okay, as you know that the COVID is the world pandemic, and also we looking about the fake news upsurge during lockdown. For example, in India, studies reveal that during the COVID-19 enforced lockdown, fake news has reached an all-time high with 88% reported the major source of fake news to be WhatsApp and so on, right? And I believe in the fake news also managed to increase anxiety, stress, and even the depression, in addition to stay at home or tinggal di rumah, curfew, work from home, unemployment, and closing of essential business. Because once we had MCO started 18 March 2020, we actually apply new normal in our life. Based on the effect of MCO, we can look for example, divorce rate have risen significantly during COVID-19, and then domestic violence also increased during the MCO, especially toward women. We don't know why that happened. Because be at home, they still have a problem with the relationship in the family. And the increase of racial posts in social media also increased, especially because there are some sort of like social media battle of media warfare, Even though the MCO managed to cut down the crime rate in half, because everybody at home, they don't have go to any places, and we will reduce our crime rate. And but the spread of fake news has caused media fatigue. For example, suspension of healthy behavior to protect individual and so on. And then since MCO is different from lockdown as MCO only targeted to high-risk area, which means it is more flexible than the lockdown. So this flexibility might be a different nexus of this research. Okay, our research question about this study is, first is, how does the public perceive fake news issues on social media during the MCO? Secondly, what themes can be examined from the fast response team or FRT evaluation during the MCO? And then thirdly is, what are the relationship between MCO and spread of COVID-19 fake news? Okay, now, as you know that integration, the fake news of social media and effect, like I'm mentioning just now, fake news article have longer title, more capitalized word, and have shorter, repetitive, and fewer nouns in their body content. And then it also contain more social words with more verbs and temporal words, suggesting that the text tend to be focused on present and future instead of being more objective and factual. Yeah. And then based on this, the fakes or the false but not true news are mostly believed by dogmatic individual and religious fundamental. Thus, fake news can be targeted toward these people for the purpose and panic on religious extremism. In Malaysia, Muslim who made up about 62% of population has a narrow scope of the religious selection in the practice and moderately stated. Yeah. So effect of the fake news, you can see that first implementation fall memory toward a certain incident, and many therefore influence behavioral decision related to the story. And then also massive anger and hatred toward to the brain, and that impacted to effectiveness of program, campaign, and initiative aimed at the citizen health, awareness, and well-being. Okay, now, but the one here is based on the agenda setting theory. Okay, the theory has basic principle in that media has an influence not on not only what the matters are about, but also how we think about them. So like the MCO, it is related to the mechanism expected to bring about either incremental change to existing policies or large-scale change. And also, according to Connie, for example, the agenda setting effect happened because the media freedom to set the agenda effect the audience agenda would need to depend. Yeah. But the point here is you can looking in this theory, priming theory. We use priming theory. There are two basic steps of media priming. First, information received through a media channel, for example, media prime, establish associated knowledge in the mind of the receiver, which make the cognitive unit more accessible and more likely to be interpreting and evaluating a consistently encountered target stimulus. Yeah? For example, the attitude and object. And then secondly, the receiver apply the primated info or information that is now more accessible concept to be target stimulus when she or he would not otherwise have done this. For example, from our framing, you can look this information from media and then go to the knowledge of the public about MCO, and then also public interpretation and also interaction or reaction from the public. Okay, now, okay, this is our conceptual framework from a media agenda, and then come to media agenda, and then we looking the priming. Okay, in terms of the approach for the methodology, we use qualitative content analysis research. Okay, and sampling is purposive sampling. Simply we'll use data from 64 statements received from FRT team and 108 Facebook and Twitter link related to false statement of engaged in 960 comment from netizens search from the link involved. To determine which sample can be used, researcher will use purposive sampling. Yeah. So that from this point of view, in order to generate data, he has to manually analyze only 90 fake news information, 30 link and 120 comment will be analyzed from the all sample taken. Okay. Okay, this is the point of view here, and then also this is how we gathering the data, and then from this fake news information response, and then we collecting all the information, then we cleaning all the information, then we put all this in coding, and then we analyze, obtain. Yeah. Okay. Now, also in this study, we use thematic analysis. First, we identify potential effective fake news information, respond and scam users comment from March to May 2020, and then we gather all the data, and then of course we assign all data into Word document, and then we develop the data into the atrocity and coding, and we hire the team. Okay, now this is the finding. Fake news debunk on the GRT was peak from March 18, 2020 and first phase of MCO until June 9, 2020. This period is a consequence from the first phase and move MCO that started on March 18, 2020 to last date of phase 6 conditional MCO on the June 6, 9, 2020. Okay, based on this, we use atrocity, and then we can good fake news point of view. Okay, and then to analyze the reaction among netizens toward COVID-19, news study managed to acquire 3 main perceptions of internet users regarding to spread of fake news during MCO. Yeah, first, the public are confused about the government policies. Yeah, because there are many versions, many statements from different leader, different minister. Then public confused which one you want to follow. Secondly, the public was sarcastic knowing about the fake news. Yeah, because because there are a lot of issues, there are a lot of sentiment, and makes a reaction toward government private competence. Okay, then you can look this, for example, through this atrocity, we can divide it into networking and model sarcastic remark. And all the answer there, you can look about the point of view. Okay, for example, try to along with the other method and then so on. Yeah. Okay, now, research question 2. What team can be examined from effective fake news information during the MCO? Okay, you can see that. Okay, then the understand about this, we come up with the team. First team is Hawk, Secondly is conspiracy theories and satire. And then number 3, troll and viruses. And then team 4, human error and bias in journalism. Okay. And then looking about the troll in viruses, yeah, most of the story we never into atrocity, then we can get all the story actually trying to attack each other, and they use black propaganda. Yeah. And then based on this, we can discuss first is netizen response toward COVID-19 fake news are confusion, anger, and sarcasm. And the public commented their confusion toward the government policies, especially regarding to commute during the MCO and special relief fund by the government. Some people who already know or knew that the news is fake commented sarcastically to feel better about the situation. And then at least the 5 dominant team in the MCO fake news, the fake hoax, satire, the bias in journalism, troll, spam, and conspiracies. And then the MCO also managed to rise the number of fake news up to more than 2,800%, which is more than convincing statement to say that they are both related. And the last one is the equation of government has been biased toward the public during MCO implementation. The public views that the current government is biased toward specific demographic and consolidating their political power using COVID-19 situation, like my friend from Iran mentioning just now. Okay, now what the conclusion for this point of view? At the conclusion for this particular chapter or the study, we can conclude the answer that the researcher question as follows. First, public reacted as predicted in the social media regarding the fake news during the MCO, although some of it is unexpected, such as some acceptance from the public and skepticism by the public, try to be positive in this challenging time. Second, the MCO policies are one of the catalysts for the vision for fake news, as discovered by the data acquired, most of them, however, bias and error in journalism. This is because most sharer of the news do not know journalism work. And news need to be checked first, check and balance, triple time, double time, and one unauthorized source can be counted as a legitimate source. However, most fake news did target the story, whether politically motivated or security motivated. Finally, this research answered to other research questions that can be analyzed from the COVID-19 fake news in the MCO, and the strategies used to determine the fake news spreading the MCO. With that, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam, Datuk. Thank you so much, Prof. Datuk, for the very insightful presentation. It's very interesting to especially see that the rise of fake news up to 2,800%. It's so
huge.
Huge. Not even like 200, it's like 2,800%. It's a lot. Oh wow, I don't know, I'm out of words to actually find out from your presentation that it has risen so much. Okay, as with the other presenter, Dr. Ali, we will collect your questions, Datuk, and have the Q&A session at the end of all this presentation. Thank you so much, Prof. Datuk, for your insightful presentation. Okay, so our next presenter will be presenting via his video, I believe. Okay, so his name is Jamali Bujang Sanawi. So Jamali is a PhD candidate at University Kebangsaan Malaysia. His area of expertise is media studies, and he will be presenting about media Malaysia semasa tahun terakhir pentadbiran Kerajaan Barisan Nasional 2017 to 2018. Suatu penelitian terhadap dinamika penentuan agenda kepentingan isu antara media arus perdana, portal berita dalam talian dan media kerajaan di laman Twitter. So it's a bit of a translation here. Okay, so it's a research on about the issues on the dynamics of the Barisan Nasional Political Party and the Barisan Nasional Government from 2017 to 2018, and this research was done on Twitter. So can you please play the video, the technical team? Excuse me.
Assalamualaikum dan selamat sejahtera saya ucapkan kepada tuan-tuan dan puan-puan. Pada hari ini saya akan membentangkan satu kertas kerja yang bertajuk Media Malaysia semasa tahun terakhir pentadbiran Kerajaan Barisan Nasional 2017-2018, suatu penelitian terhadap dinamika penentuan agenda kepentingan isu antara media arus perdana, portal berita dalam talian dan media kerajaan di laman Twitter. Pengenalan. Apabila membicarakan tentang hubungan antara kerajaan dan media, Malaysia mempunyai sejarah dan perjalanan yang cukup signifikan dalam konteks ini. Pengawalan oleh pemerintah terhadap industri media telah bermula semenjak akhbar pertama bertapak di negara ini pada tahun 1806. Dalam konteks industri akhbar, terdapat beberapa undang-undang khusus yang pernah digunapakai terhadap wartawan-wartawan di Malaysia. Antara undang-undang tersebut adalah Akta Keselamatan Dalam Negeri atau ISA. Undang-undang ISA adalah Undang-Undang ISA yang digubal pada tahun 1960 pada asalnya diwujudkan bagi mengekang ancaman komunis setelah kerajaan mengambil keputusan untuk menamatkan tempoh darurat akibat ancaman komunis pada ketika itu. Pada tahun 1976, akta ini pernah digunakan terhadap dua orang wartawan iaitu Samani Muhammad Amin yang merupakan bekas pembantu editor berita di Berita Harian dan Tan Sri Samad Ismail yang merupakan bekas timbalan ketua editor di ketika itu kerana sikap lantang mereka terhadap kerajaan. Kedua-dua mereka telah ditahan di bawah Akta ISA selama 5 tahun. Selain daripada ISA, Akta Hasutan 1948 turut digunakan oleh kerajaan untuk mengawal kestabilan pemerintahannya. Selain daripada ISA dan Akta Hasutan 1948, terdapat juga akta lain yang secara khusus digunakan untuk mengawal dan menyelia perjalanan industri akhbar di negara ini. Akta Mesin Cetak dan Penerbitan AMCP 1948 adalah akta yang digubal berdasarkan Ordinan Mesin Cetak 1948. Selain daripada penguatkuasaan undang-undang, media di Malaysia turut dikawal melalui kaedah pemilikan. Akhbar arus perdana di Malaysia seringkali dikaitkan dengan parti politik, khususnya parti yang memerintah. Cubaan pemerintah untuk memiliki syarikat akhbar tempatan boleh dikesan semenjak daripada zaman pentadbiran Perdana Menteri Malaysia yang pertama lagi, Tunku Abdul Rahman. Pada tahun 1961, United Malay Nationals Organisation ataupun UMNO yang merupakan parti komponen PN di bawah kepimpinan Tunku pada ketika itu cuba untuk mengambil alih akhbar utusan Melayu dan tindakan ini telah mendapat tentangan daripada para pekerja dan wartawan di utusan Melayu. Mereka bertindak melancarkan mogok bermula dari 21 Julai sehingga 21 Oktober 1961 dengan harapan untuk mengekalkan utusan Melayu sebagai sebuah akhbar yang bebas dan tidak dikuasai oleh ahli politik. Apa yang dapat diperhatikan adalah pengambilan alihan ini tidak semata-mata atas faktor ekonomi, tetapi juga didorong oleh faktor politik. Ini kerana pelantikan Ketua Penerangan UMNO pada ketika itu, Ibrahim Fikri sebagai pengarah urusan dan Ketua Pengarangnya, dilihat sebagai usaha untuk mentransformasikan utusan Melayu sebagai lidah bagi parti tersebut. Selain daripada UMNO, MCA yang juga merupakan parti komponen BN turut berusaha untuk menguasai akhbar-akhbar di Malaysia. Akhbar The Star yang mula muncul pada tahun 1970-an di Pulau Pinang pada satu ketika pernah dimiliki oleh bekas Ketua Menteri Sabah Tun Mustafa Harun bersama-sama dengan Tunku Abdul Rahman. Apabila Tun Mustafa berhasrat untuk menjual pegangannya dalam The Star, Tunku menasihati beliau untuk menjual saham beliau kepada MCA. Menjelang tahun 1977, The Star telah dibeli oleh Warren Holdings yang merupakan sebuah syarikat yang dimiliki oleh parti MCA. Pemerintahan Parti BN akhirnya berakhir pada tahun 2018 lepas PRU 14 apabila parti tersebut yang telah memerintah Malaysia sejak merdeka tumpas kepada Parti Pakatan Harapan ataupun PH dalam pilihan raya umum 14. Memandangkan Parti BN telah memerintah negara selama 61 tahun, maka boleh dikatakan bahawa industri media di negara ini dikawal secara langsung ataupun tidak langsung oleh parti tersebut selama tempoh yang sama. Sedikit latar belakang kajian. Beberapa kajian berkaitan dengan penentuan agenda media di negara ini banyak menumpukan kepada komunikasi politik semasa tempoh pilihan raya dalam penelitian mereka. Menangkan kebanyakan daripada kajian yang dijalankan di Malaysia menjurus kepada tingkah laku media semasa musim pilihan raya maka tidak banyak penjelasan secara ilmiah yang boleh digunakan untuk menjelaskan tentang tingkah laku media berita terhadap isu politik atau isu-isu yang lain semasa di luar musim pilihan raya. Kajian yang dijalankan ini meneliti proses penentuan agenda antara media yang berlaku semasa tahun terakhir pentadbiran Kerajaan Barisan Nasional pada tahun 2017 dan 2018. Kajian ini menumpukan kepada perkongsian siapan organisasi media yang terlibat di laman Twitter rasmi masing-masing, memandangkan platform Twitter semakin popular dalam kalangan organisasi media dalam perkongsian berita. Dalam kajian ini, beberapa persoalan kajian cuba diteliti. Namun secara khusus, kajian ini cuba menyingkap penentuan agenda hierarki kepentingan isu di laman Twitter yang membabitkan media arus perdana, foto berita dalam talian dan media kerajaan semasa tempoh tahun terakhir pemerintahan Barisan Nasional. Selain itu, kajian ini cuba melihat hubungan korelasi antara agenda media dan saling pergantungan ataupun causality agenda antara media arus perdana, foto berita dalam talian dan media kerajaan dalam konteks kepentingan isu di laman Twitter semasa tahun terakhir parti BN berkuasa. Metodologi. Sebanyak 6 organisasi media yang mewakili kategori media masing-masing iaitu media berita arus perdana yang diwakili oleh Berita Harian dan The Star, foto berita dalam talian yang diwakili oleh Malaysia Kini dan Free Malaysia Today ataupun FMT, dan media kerajaan yang diwakili oleh Radio Television Malaysia ataupun RTM dan Bernama. Analisis kandungan dijalankan ke atas 3,628 siapan yang dikongsikan oleh media-media ini sepanjang tempoh bermula dari 9 Mei 2017 sehingga 9 April 2018. Dalam kajian ini terdapat sebanyak 27 isu utama yang telah dikenal pasti daripada sampel data yang terkumpul. Isu-isu tersebut adalah isu politik kepartian dan pilihan raya, isu pentadbiran dan pemerintahan, isu kerajaan negeri dan wilayah persekutuan, isu jenayah dan siasatan, isu kemalangan dan tragedi, isu perkembangan sukan, isu antarabangsa, isu ekonomi dan korporat, isu pembangunan dan kemudahan, isu perkembangan hiburan, isu ekonomi, isu kes mahkamah dan perundangan, isu penguatkuasaan, pertahanan dan keselamatan, isu yang membabitkan badan-badan bukan kerajaan dan aktivisme, isu semasa dan santai, isu teknologi dan inovasi, isu harga minyak, isu yang dibangkitkan oleh kolumnis media berita, isu tanggungjawab sosial korporat, isu bencana alam dan cuaca, isu kesihatan dan perubatan, isu alam sekitar dan perhilitan, isu keagamaan dan kebudayaan, isu pendidikan, isu pekerjaan, isu warga asing, isu pengangkutan dan lebuh raya, dan lain-lain. Dalam konteks kajian ini, kekerapan kemunculan isu-isu ini dalam siapan organisasi media yang terlibat akan direkodkan untuk membangunkan ranking kepentingan isu untuk tujuan analisis secara statistikal. Untuk melihat sama ada wujud hubungan antara agenda media yang melibatkan media arus perdana, foto berita dalam talian dan media kerajaan. Daripada segi hierarki kepentingan isu, kaedah analisis korelasi aturan ranking Spearman ataupun Spearman's Rank Order Correlation dijalankan. Okay. Untuk menentukan hubungan causality antara agenda media pula dalam konteks hierarki kepentingan isu, analisis yang menggunakan kaedah siri masa, khususnya analisis sisih masa, digunakan dalam kajian ini. Untuk kajian ini, kaedah analisis sisih masa yang menggunakan statistik garis dasar Russell Campbell 1969 digunakan. Okay. Formula pengiraannya adalah seperti berikut. Okay. Dalam formula pengiraan garis dasar Russell Campbell ini, X dan Y adalah mewakili media yang berbeza, manakala nilai 1 dan 2 adalah mewakili sisih masa, iaitu sisih masa 1 dan sisih masa 2. Kaedah rumusan pengendalian analisis sisih masa yang menggunakan garis dasar Russell Campbell ini ditunjukkan dalam rajah berikut. Okay. Untuk mengenal pasti sama ada media X pada masa 1 ataupun X1 mempengaruhi agenda media Y pada masa 2 ataupun Y2, korelasi antara X1 dan Y2 mestilah menunjukkan hubungan yang signifikan, iaitu nilai P value kurang daripada 0.05 dan mestilah lebih besar daripada nilai garis dasar Russell-Campbell. Manakala korelasi Y pada masa 1, Y atau Y1 dan media X pada masa 2 ataupun X2 mestilah berada di bawah garis dasar Russell-Campbell atau menunjukkan hubungan yang tidak signifikan, iaitu P value lebih besar daripada 0.05. Sekiranya nilai korelasinya berada di atas garis dasar Russell-Campbell. Sekiranya korelasi sisi masa ini memenuhi syarat ini, maka bolehlah dirumuskan bahawa wujud pengaruh media X terhadap agenda media Y pada sisi masa tersebut. Dapatan kajian untuk hierarki kepentingan isu media arus perdana ianya dipaparkan dalam slide berikut. Okay. Seperti yang ditunjukkan dalam jadual berikut, media arus perdana meletakkan isu sukan sebagai agenda utama mereka di laman Twitter dengan jumlah ciapan sebanyak 335 ciapan atau bersamaan dengan 23.9%. Ini menunjukkan bahawa media arus perdana semasa tempoh setahun sebelum semasa tempoh tahun terakhir pentadbiran Barisan Nasional menggunakan pendekatan yang lebih santai dalam interaksi mereka di laman Twitter. Isu ini diikuti oleh isu antarabangsa yang dikongsikan sebanyak 193 ciapan atau bersamaan dengan 13.8%, manakala isu berkaitan dengan politik, kepartian dan pilihan raya berada di kedudukan ketiga dengan jumlah ciapan sebanyak 109 ciapan atau bersamaan dengan 7.8%. Isu-isu lain seperti isu jenayah dan siasatan, isu ekonomi dan korporat, isu kemalangan dan tragedi, isu kes mahkamah dan perundangan, isu hiburan, isu pentadbiran negara dan pemerintahan, dan isu bencana alam dan cuaca turut tersenarai dalam kelompok 10 isu paling utama dalam agenda media arus perdana di laman Twitter semasa tahun terakhir pentadbiran Barisan Nasional. Untuk hierarki kepentingan isu portal berita dalam talian pula, ia dipaparkan dalam slide berikut. Ya, berdasarkan kepada slide tersebut, kita dapat melihat portal berita dalam talian sangat mengutamakan topik berkaitan dengan politik, kepartian dan pilihan raya sebagai agenda utama mereka di laman Twitter. Ya. Seperti yang dapat dilihat dalam jadual berikut, topik ini telah diciapkan sebanyak 420 ciapan atau bersamaan dengan 33.2% di laman Twitter rasmi mereka. Okay. Selain daripada topik politik, portal berita dan talian juga turut mengangkat isu-isu yang dibawa oleh para kolumnis media mereka dan ianya menjadi agenda kedua terpenting di laman sosial tersebut. Isu-isu berkaitan dengan penulisan kolumnis telah dikongsikan sebanyak 142 kali ataupun bersamaan dengan 11.2% sepanjang tempoh tahun terakhir pentadbiran Barisan Nasional. Ini cukup berbeza dengan agenda penentuan kepentingan isu media arus perdana yang mana hasil penulisan kolumnis tidak dianggap sebagai agenda penting dan hanya menduduki kedudukan ke-24 daripada 27 isu secara keseluruhannya. Selain daripada itu, portal berita dalam talian juga lebih menitikberatkan isu berkaitan dengan badan bukan kerajaan dan aktivisme. Dan ini berbeza dengan layanan yang diberikan oleh media arus perdana terhadap topik yang sama. Ciapan berkaitan dengan badan bukan kerajaan dan aktivisme telah dihantar sebanyak 52 kali atau bersamaan dengan 41% sepanjang tempoh tahun terakhir pentadbiran Barisan Nasional dan ini meletakkan isu tersebut berada di tangga ke-9 dalam hierarki kepentingan isu portal berita dan talian. Bagi media arus perdana pula, topik ini hanya diangkat sebanyak 14 kali sahaja atau bersamaan dengan 1% di laman Twitter mereka sepanjang tempoh tahun terakhir pentadbiran Barisan Nasional. Untuk hierarki kepentingan isu media kerajaan pula, ianya dipaparkan dalam slide berikut. Okay, seperti yang dapat dilihat dalam slide tersebut, media kerajaan meletakkan isu berkaitan dengan pentadbiran negara dan pemerintahan sebagai agenda utama mereka di laman Twitter semasa tempoh tahun terakhir pentadbiran Barisan Nasional. Okay. Corak ini cukup berbeza berbanding dengan agenda yang diketengahkan oleh media arus perdana dan portal berita dalam talian, yang mana media arus perdana mengangkat isu sukan sebagai topik utama dan portal berita dalam talian pula mengangkat isu politik kepartian dan pilihan raya sebagai agenda utama mereka di laman Twitter. Penonjolan isu pentadbiran negara dan pemerintahan dalam agenda media kerajaan mungkin didorong oleh faktor fungsi media-media tersebut sebagai medium yang menghubungkan kerajaan dan rakyat. Semasa tempoh tahun terakhir pentadbiran Barisan Nasional, isu pentadbiran negara dan pemerintahan telah mendapat ciapan sebanyak 118 ciapan atau bersamaan dengan 12.3% di laman Twitter media kerajaan yang terlibat. Selain daripada itu, isu yang lebih santai juga turut menjadi keutamaan dalam agenda media kerajaan. Seperti yang dapat diperhatikan dalam jadual berikut, isu sukan adalah merupakan agenda kedua terpenting dalam hierarki kepentingan isu media kerajaan. Isu-isu berkaitan dengan perkembangan sukan telah dihantar sebanyak 108 kali atau bersamaan dengan 11.2% di laman Twitter media kerajaan. Menariknya, isu berkaitan dengan politik kepartian dan pilihan raya tidak tersenarai dalam kelompok 5 isu teratas media kerajaan. Ya. Isu berkaitan dengan politik hanya diciapkan sebanyak 50 ciapan atau bersamaan dengan 5.2%, sekaligus meletakkannya pada kedudukan ke-8 dalam hierarki kepentingan isu media kerajaan. Ini menunjukkan bahawa berbanding media-media dalam kategori yang lain dalam kajian ini, media kerajaan adalah kumpulan media yang meletakkan kepentingan terendah terhadap isu politik, kepartian dan pilihan raya berbanding media arus perdana dan portal berita dalam talian. Untuk dapatan yang berkaitan dengan korelasi agenda antara media, ianya boleh dirujuk dalam slide berikut. Ya. Seperti yang dapat diperhatikan dalam slide berikut, analisis korelasi bivariate Spearman row yang dijalankan ke atas hierarki kepentingan isu media arus perdana dan hierarki kepentingan isu portal berita dalam talian di laman Twitter menunjukkan hubungan yang signifikan dengan kekuatan yang cukup tinggi. Untuk analisis korelasi bivariate Spearman row yang melibatkan hierarki kepentingan isu media arus perdana dan hierarki kepentingan isu media kerajaan pula, hasil dapatan menunjukkan hubungan yang tidak signifikan. Analisis yang melibatkan hierarki kepentingan isu yang membabitkan media kerajaan dan portal berita dalam talian pula menunjukkan hubungan positif yang signifikan dengan nilai Spearman row pada kekuatan yang sederhana. Berdasarkan kepada hasil analisis ini, maka kita dapat simpulkan bahawa agenda hierarki kepentingan isu portal berita dalam talian mempunyai hubungan positif dengan hierarki kepentingan isu media arus perdana dan media kerajaan. Dalam pada itu, agenda kepentingan media arus perdana dan agenda kepentingan isu media kerajaan pula tidak menunjukkan hubungan yang signifikan semasa tempoh terakhir pentadbiran Barisan Nasional. Untuk hubungan causality antara agenda media pula, ianya boleh dirujuk pada slide ini. Ya. Okay. Seperti yang dapat diperhatikan dalam rajah dalam slide itu, kesemua kategori media yang terlibat menunjukkan konsistensi daripada segi korelasi hierarki kepentingan isu pada masa 1 dan pada masa 2 masing-masing. Ya. Dengan media arus perdana menunjukkan hubungan yang secara relatifnya paling kuat dan portal berita dalam talian secara relatifnya paling lemah dalam konteks hubungan ini. Daripada segi korelasi silang kategori media pula, media arus perdana dan portal berita dalam talian menunjukkan hubungan saling mempengaruhi antara satu sama lain dalam aspek hierarki kepentingan isu di laman Twitter. Ya. Ini dibuktikan melalui hasil analisis sisih masa yang mana korelasi hierarki kepentingan isu media arus perdana pada masa 1 dan hierarki kepentingan isu portal berita dalam talian pada masa 2 menunjukkan hubungan yang signifikan dengan kekuatan yang sederhana. Namun begitu, hubungan antara hierarki kepentingan isu portal berita dalam talian pada masa 1 dan hierarki kepentingan isu media arus perdana pada masa 2 menunjukkan nilai korelasi yang lebih tinggi, iaitu bersamaan dengan 0.653. Memandangkan kedua-dua nilai korelasi Spearman Rho berada di atas garis dasar Russell-Campbell bersamaan dengan 0.344, maka kita boleh simpulkan bahawa wujud hubungan saling mempengaruhi antara agenda media arus perdana dan agenda portal berita dalam talian, meskipun portal berita dalam talian didapati mempunyai pengaruh yang lebih besar berbanding agenda media arus perdana dalam penentuan kepentingan isu di laman Twitter. Untuk hubungan kausaliti yang membabitkan agenda kepentingan isu media arus perdana dan media kerajaan semasa tempoh tahun terakhir Pentadbiran Barisan Nasional, kedua-dua hubungan untuk hierarki kepentingan isu sama ada hubungan hierarki kepentingan isu media arus perdana pada masa satu dan hierarki kepentingan isu media kerajaan pada masa dua, atau hubungan pada masa satu dan hierarki kepentingan isu media kerajaan atau hubungan hierarki kepentingan isu media kerajaan pada masa satu dan hierarki kepentingan isu media arus perdana pada masa dua, kedua-dua arah ini menunjukkan hubungan yang tidak signifikan, iaitu nilai P melebihi 0.05. Daripada segi hubungan kausaliti antara hierarki kepentingan isu portal berita dalam talian dan hierarki kepentingan isu media kerajaan pula, analisis korelasi dari kedua-dua arah menunjukkan hubungan yang signifikan. Analisis Spearman Rho yang dijalankan membabitkan hierarki kepentingan isu portal berita dalam talian pada masa satu dan hierarki kepentingan isu media kerajaan pada masa dua menunjukkan hubungan yang sederhana. Untuk analisis yang membabitkan hierarki kepentingan isu media kerajaan pada masa satu dan hierarki kepentingan isu portal berita dalam talian pada masa dua pula, ianya turut menghasilkan nilai korelasi yang hampir sama kekuatannya. Memandangkan kedua-dua nilai korelasi yang terhasil berada di atas garis dasar Russell-Campbell yang bersamaan dengan 0.216, maka kita boleh simpulkan bahawa wujud hubungan saling mempengaruhi antara agenda kepentingan isu portal berita dalam talian dan agenda kepentingan isu media kerajaan di laman Twitter semasa tempoh tahun terakhir Pentadbiran Barisan Nasional, meskipun pada tahap kekuatan yang sederhana. Secara kesimpulannya, berdasarkan kepada dapatan kajian ini, kita dapat melihat bagaimana pada tempoh masa setahun sebelum pada tempoh masa tahun terakhir Pentadbiran Barisan Nasional, media arus perdana, portal berita dalam talian dan media kerajaan menggunakan pendekatan yang agak berbeza dalam menentukan isu terpenting dalam agenda mereka di laman Twitter. Media arus perdana misalnya meletakkan isu yang agak santai, iaitu isu sukan sebagai topik paling utama di laman Twitter mereka, manakala portal berita dalam talian mengangkat isu politik kepartian dan pilihan raya sebagai topik paling dominan. Media kerajaan pula meletakkan isu pentadbiran dan pemerintahan sebagai subjek paling utama perbincangan di laman Twitter rasmi mereka semasa tempoh tahun terakhir Pentadbiran Kerajaan Barisan Nasional. Daripada segi korelasi antara agenda pula, agenda media arus perdana menunjukkan hubungan yang signifikan dengan agenda portal berita dalam talian semasa tahun terakhir Pentadbiran Kerajaan Barisan Nasional. Menariknya, agenda media kerajaan tidak menunjukkan hubungan yang signifikan dengan agenda media arus perdana. Sebaliknya, mempunyai korelasi yang signifikan dengan agenda portal berita dalam talian semasa tempoh tahun terakhir Pentadbiran Kerajaan Nasional. Daripada segi hubungan kausaliti pula, media arus perdana dan portal berita dalam talian menunjukkan hubungan saling mempengaruhi antara satu sama lain dalam penentuan agenda di laman Twitter. Namun begitu, dapatan kajian ini juga mendapati bahawa agenda media arus perdana dan media kerajaan tidak mempunyai hubungan saling mempengaruhi antara satu sama lain. Sebaliknya, wujud hubungan kausaliti yang membabitkan agenda portal berita dalam talian dan media kerajaan di laman Twitter semasa tempoh setahun terakhir Pentadbiran Kerajaan Nasional, Barisan Nasional, Kerajaan Barisan Nasional. Maka daripada dapatan kajian ini, meskipun media arus perdana mempunyai berkaitan dengan parti-parti politik pemerintah daripada segi pendidikan, namun daripada segi penentuan agenda di laman Twitter, media arus perdana dan media kerajaan mempunyai kepentingan agenda yang berbeza. Ya. Sekian saja pembentangan saya. Assalamualaikum dan terima kasih.
Terima kasih atas pembentangan tu Cik Jamali. I see that you are here. Would you like to give maybe one or two words about your research, Cik Jamali? Cik Jamali Bujang. Okay, mungkin later, during the Q&A session, Cik Jamali Bujang can give one or two words about his research because that was a recorded version. Thank you so much to the technical team for playing the video. Okay, so now we are on to our last presenter. Okay, so our last presenter is Sri Haida Japa. Okay, so she is a student, an undergraduate student from our school, okay, MENTION of UKM. So her research or her presentation would be about penularan berita palsu tentang vaksin COVID-19, satu kajian terhadap laman sebenarnya.my. So it's about vaccine, COVID-19 vaccine, about the spread of disinformation or misinformation regarding the COVID-19 vaccine, which has been debunked on sebenarnya.my. Okay, so I would like to invite Miss Sri Haida to start her presentation. Sri, over to you.
Okay, Dr. Sabaria, thank you so much for the intro. So let me, first of all, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be a part of this research because Dr. Sab is one of the first authors. So let me just share my screen. You can see my screen, right?
Yes, nampak.
All right. So this research was done in Bahasa, but I'll try to translate if I can. But then most of the keywords are in English for those who doesn't understand the Malay language. Okay, so the title of this research is Penularan Berita Palsu tentang Vaksin COVID-19, Analisis Kandungan atau satu kajian terhadap laman sebenarnya.my. Or in English, as Dr. Sab mentioned, is a variety of fake news about COVID-19 vaccine, and then it's a content analysis of the sebenarnya.my website. So thank you, Dr. Sab, for letting me including me being a part of this research, which is also the moderator of this webinar, and also Nur Izian, who is a PhD candidate within this faculty. So pengenalan, baiklah. COVID-19 bukan sahaja merupakan pandemik global, malah ia juga telah membawa kepada infodemik, iaitu maklumat yang berlebihan atau serta disinfodemik iaitu disinformasi akibat pandemik COVID-19. Jadi peningkatan jumlah disinformasi secara global berkaitan COVID-19 dan vaksin telah memberi kesan yang buruk dan signifikan terhadap masyarakat. Contohnya seperti rawatan salah yang membahayakan kesihatan, termasuk disinformasi mendakwa meminum alkohol boleh menyembuh atau mengelakkan coronavirus ni, menyebabkan kematian lebih daripada 700 orang yang meminum alkohol dinaturasi, iaitu alkohol bukan minuman. Dan serta kesan-kesan buruk yang lain disebabkan disinformasi berkaitan vaksin COVID-19. Jadi laman sebenarnya merupakan portal sebagai pusat sehenti bagi rakyat Malaysia untuk menyemak sebelum berkongsi berita yang tidak ditentukan kesahihannya, yang diterima secara dalam talian melalui platform media sosial, perkhidmatan mesej segera, blog, laman sesawang dan lain-lain. Jadi the base of this research, asas kajian ini sebenarnya.my melabel maklumat palsu mengikut ada 3 label kategori, iaitu palsu, penjelasan dan waspada. Jadi content analysis adalah berdasarkan 3 kategori yang berbeza ni lah. So persoalan kajian ini adalah apakah kata kunci tertentu yang digunakan untuk mengenal pasti maklumat palsu berkaitan vaksin COVID-19 di laman sebenarnya.my. Yang kedua, apakah motivasi penyebar maklumat palsu berkaitan vaksin COVID-19 di laman sebenarnya.my. Seterusnya, bagaimana maklumat palsu berkaitan vaksin COVID-19 disebar mengikut laman sebenarnya .my. Jadi kaedahnya kita guna coding sheet atau borang pengukuran daripada kajian Haris Zainul tahun 2020. Jadi asasnya fact check outcomes, dia ada 6 kategori secara jumlah, tapi kita gunakan 5 saja kategori, dan satu lagi itu daripada kajian yang berbeza. So fact check outcomes ada macam tadi tu, palsu, penjelasan, waspada. So dia punya coding sheet dia in English, so it is debunk, clarification and warning. And also the medium, semua medium secara dalam talian, email, Facebook, Instagram, news, SMS, Telegram, Twitter, website, WhatsApp, YouTube dan unclear, tak dapat dijelaskan. Dan juga format maklumat palsu tersebut dalam berbentuk berita atau teks atau gambar atau berbentuk video, audio dan lain-lain. Serta motivasi penyebar maklumat palsu ini iaitu poor journalism, a mistake made by news outlet, satira, parody atau troll, motif politik dan juga profit. Dan juga seterusnya imposter content bagi kandungan yang untuk pihak yang menyamar sebagai pihak berkuasa seperti kerajaan, bank, universiti, pihak media dan sebagainya. Jadi untuk kategori yang ke-6 tu iaitu jenis maklumat palsu, ada 9 yang kita gunakan daripada kajian Islam tahun ni. Cara beliau kategorikan vaksin mengikut 9 kategori yang berbeza, iaitu vaccine trials and development and access, mobility and mortality of the vaccine, susceptibility of other vaccines available, dan keselamatan, efficacy dan acceptance of the vaccine and vaccine regions atau bahan vaksin itu. Terusnya vaksin alternatif, alternatif vaksin lain yang boleh digunakan, motif politik dan ekonomi, dan conspiracy theory, dan juga mandatory vaccines dan etika dan ethics, iaitu vaksin yang memang diwajibkan oleh kerajaan dan etika semasa proses pemberian vaksin dan sebagainya. So dapatan kajian, kita buat analisis daripada tempoh Januari hingga September tahun ini 2021, dan untuk fact check outcomes secara keseluruhannya dalam tempoh 9 bulan tu ada 19 sahaja maklumat palsu berkaitan vaksin COVID-19 di laman sebenarnya.my. Jadi di bawah debunk ada 4, bawah clarification 11, di bawah warning 3. So paling tinggi di sini adalah clarification, penjelasan saja, tak banyak pun debunk seperti objektif utama laman sebenarnya.my. Terusnya medium, well circulated, di mana platform maklumat palsu itu disebarkan. Jadi ada Facebook, email, news, WhatsApp, Twitter dan tidak jelas. So total ada 19 dan paling tinggi adalah di WhatsApp. Dan tidak jumpa, tak ada posting daripada Instagram, SMS, Telegram, website, YouTube, tak ada. So format of false claim, berbentuk berita, teks, picture, audio dan lain-lain. Paling tinggi berbentuk berita, dan keduanya adalah berbentuk teks seperti melalui WhatsApp. Dan tak ada video, tiada di laman sebenarnya.my. Motivation behind creation, jadi motivasi di sebalik penyebar maklumat palsu ni dalam poor journalism, satira, troll, political motives dan profit. Imposter content atau kandungan penyamar, paling tingginya adalah mereka menyamar sebagai pihak kerajaan. Sebagai contoh kenyataan media yang dikeluarkan, tapi itu sebenarnya bukannya kenyataan rasmi daripada kerajaan pun, atau pihak kesihatan dan lain-lain, dan tak dapat dilabel. Sebagai contoh yang tak dapat dilabel ni macam penjual di Shopee. Jadi kategori itu tak ada dalam kajian Haris Zainul. Seterusnya jenis maklumat palsu ada 4 yang dapat dilabel setakat ini. Jadi ada mobility dan mortality ada 3, vaccine availability dan access paling tinggi ada 13, vaccine safety ada 2, dan mandatory vaccine sebanyak Jadi keseluruhan ada 19. Jadi untuk kategori lain tiada di dalam di laman sebenarnya.my di Malaysia. Jadi kesimpulannya, laman sebenarnya.my sepatutnya lebih agresif berdasarkan data tersebut dalam semakan maklumat palsu di Malaysia. Terdapat beberapa lompong juga yang patut dipertimbangkan bagi mengawal penyebaran maklumat palsu, seperti membuat semakan maklumat dalam bahasa lain seperti bahasa Inggeris dan juga Mandarin, serta menambah lagi huraian serta sumber rujukan bagi mengukuhkan lagi semakan fakta tersebut. Ini adalah senarai rujukan ilmiah yang termasuk dalam pembentangan hari ini. Sekian, terima kasih. Kepada pertanyaan boleh cakap tulis dalam chat box dan beri email sekali.
Thank you so much, Seri. Okay, so this is actually part of Seri's final year project, and she is doing it together with a PhD student, which is Izian, and Izian's not here. Thank you so much, Seri. So with that, that is the end of our presentation actually. Okay, and as I mentioned earlier, we will have a Q&A session. I see, there are already questions in the chat box, but if you do have any other questions to other presenters, please feel free to type your questions in our chat box. Okay, so now I see that we have a questions from Jeshina Kanapati. Jeshina, would you like to, say out your question to Prof. Dato yourself? Jeshina?
Sure. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
So basically, these are a few questions that I wanted to ask Doctor, because communication students were supposed to write a news. So I was wondering if I could interview Doctor about some of these things, because I was very interested in writing a news article about fake news of COVID-19. So basically, my first question was, based on your opinion, what do you think, why do you think fake news about COVID-19 is being spread around? Like, what is the purpose of doing such an act among netizens? And my second question was, although these fake news have been debunked by higher authorities, do you think that by receiving such news, it has imprinted a certain fear among people? Let's say, for an example, people say that the vaccines could kill you, even though it actually heals you. But then, it's fake, but deep inside, you still think maybe vaccines could kill me. So why? So do you think that this fear actually has imprinted on other people as well? And my last question was, how and where should netizens find proper information about COVID-19, since there are so many misleading sources and informations online? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I want to act based on question number one. Okay, actually, netizen and the outside there, they have their own agenda. We call setting the agenda. Okay, make sure that this COVID-19, sometimes they come up with the fake news throughout the nation, because we have social media. And we know that during the MCO or PKP, we stay at home and they have much time stay at home, and then they don't know how to want to do anything. So that one of the activities actually cheating. They're trying to, challenging the thought, and sometimes they're trying to attack each other, right? So that one of the approach, they're using social media to disseminating all information, fake news as well. And then in the fake news, actually not only they attack based on the COVID-19 per se, but also they attacking the political sentiment, As you know that during the COVID-19 in Malaysia, our politics not that stable, in instability, right? So that they're trying to attack the minister, they're trying to attack the prime minister, they're trying to attack all those related with the Peran as well, right? So unethical, but that happened because they have the agenda, and then they have also the troopers, the group of troopers, and then they're trying to get popular and when they, as a first person to disseminating any emotion without check and balance, check what the real story, is it the true, and that they don't mind about the impact of the fake news and so on, right? That's the reason for the question number 1. And then question number 2, I repeat again, I don't know, I again. Question number 2, number 3. Sorry. Hello?
Yes, Dato'.
Question number 2 and number 3, what the question?
Can you repeat the question?
Repeat the question, please.
So for my second question is, although these fake news have been debunked by higher authorities, do you think by receiving such news, it has imprinted a fear among the people?
Yeah, it depends. Sometimes the netizen also can assess the source of information not only through the governmental PR or from health ministry, right? They can assess all over the world about the COVID, even though sometimes, for example, this COVID-19 actually we call as agenda, even though this is part of the what is called created by the enemy and so on, right? But the point is, we know that this is the real story. This is about life. This is about our security and our safety. But some part of them also, we must know that we call anti-vaccine group. Anti-vaccine group, they have their own reason. They reluctant and they refuse to get the vaccine originated. So then they're trying to give any reasons, 1,000 reasons, million reasons to attack the government, especially. And then they come up with the solution, say that you can prevent your health from the COVID-19 with other sources. They say like, we have our choice, herb, and then for Muslim also they reluctant to use the vaccine because of halal of pig, babi, and all this is the one reason, right? So that even they know, but they still part of the debunk the information. But the point here is when they have the agenda, sometimes they don't bother about the implication to the society, to the people outside there. Okay. And then number 3, how and why should netizen find proper information about COVID-19? Of course, you must refer the real sources, the what is called Kementerian Kesihatan or Health Ministry sources. We have our own My Sejahtera. You can get all information in that particular. The only that information are credible enough. Credible sources. Please don't check with other sources. Sometimes they can get from any, they're trying to influence. So that the point here is, I will advise that if you want to know about the real story, proper information, please refer to Health Ministry website and also information from the credible sources, right? So we hope that we can preventive our COVID-19, still follow SOP, stay at home, yeah. And also we hope that we stay back and stay at home all more time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Dato'. If I may also address question number 1 for Jeshina about the reason why this COVID-19 disinformation, misinformation, or fake news is being spread, as Dato' said. There are political motives, and as well there are also monetary motives as well. Okay, because as you know, people do make money by spreading disinformation, misinformation. An example is this guy Mirko Sosalski from Macedonia, who actually shared disinformation about Trump, and he's now a millionaire because of that, sharing. So there are reasons, but there are also very naive netizens, very naive media users who actually are not able or do not have the skills, to determine if a information is credible or not. Examples would be probably our grandmas, our mothers who like to share forwarded messages in our WhatsApp groups. So these people, they fall prey to all this sort of misinformation, believing that it is true. So there are a few categories of people who shares this fake news, and of course, it imprints fear among people. And like Datuk said, I really agree with what Datuk said. It's always political motives and always in relations to money. Like Datuk said also as well, I like your example about anti-vaxxers. They do use this platform to actually promote their, healthy supplements and all that, and promoting that instead of getting the COVID-19 vaccine. So yeah, so for question 3, I would like to invite Seri to talk about where netizens can find proper information about COVID-19 and also other sources. Seri, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Sab. Yeah, actually, for this question, how and where should netizens find proper information about COVID because of misleading sources? So Jay Sheena, I'm currently a fact checker of an organization called Fact Check Lab. So media organizations all over the world, a lot of them already have their own internal fact checkers, group of fact checkers, before they publish a certain news. So like for Malaysia, it has already been around, but it's not as popular. And there are a few fact-checking organizations, and one of them is Fact Check Lab. So if I could explain to you what Fact Check Lab is, since I am a fact checker there, what we do is we debunk false claims. And even if it's true, we try to find credible sources and academic references to support those claims. And we also have labels like if it's a misinformation, disinformation, false, true or false, mixed. So all those, it's very comprehensive. So it's like a whole check report. If you want to find credible sources, you can go through, look at official statements by the government, but it can be government biased. But for Fact Check Lab, it is an independent organization where we fact check and debunk fake, false information, so to say. So we also interview experts like medical experts, and we try to hear their point of view with their expertise and background, and we try to write it in language terms and where the public can understand better. And we also provide links to those credible sources. So that's one way that you can look for credible sources. So that's it.
Thank you, Seri. Yeah, thank you, Seri. So there are other, aside from sebenarnya.my, Jeshina, there is also My Check, which is a bernama affiliated fact-checking organization. And of course, we do also have Fact Check Lab. So what you can do is that, I mean, for the public, members of the public as well, if they do not, have the skill to fact check, what they can do is they can just, ask these fact checking organizations to help them, find the truth, sort for the truth, and yeah, help to find, what's the most credible information is. Okay, so thank you so much, Seri, and thank you so much, Dato. So do we have any other questions which has, that you want to ask for the members of the audience? Okay, if you don't, I do have a question actually. Okay, and this question actually goes to Prof. Dato as well. Okay, so Prof. Dato, because in our, actually in Seri's coding sheet, we do have a slot, a column for journalism bias, but we found a problem in determining, how do we determine a journalism bias? And I saw in Prof. Dato's presentation, you actually also talk about journalism bias. So Dato, how do we determine journalism bias based on a content analysis?
Okay, we analyze priming, and then qualitatively, so that based on the reaction from the response from the netizen, from the users, then we analyze all the particulars. But we also analyze the content of the story or the news, right? And as you know that the news, they have their own orientation, also be called slanting. Slanting based on the ownership. Ownership theory mentioned that those owner the company or the industry, they determine the the house style or the slanting or the rotation. And most of the story, those under governmental honored, let's say, then they more to slanting to government issues, and we support the government. But those not, for example, sorry to say, like Masyakini political party, also those against with the policy, then they utilize and most of the story, the tone of the story actually more to attack instead of positive and neutral. Understand me? Negative mean attack, and also attack in terms of the story, in terms of the policy, even though unfortunately they also attacking the frontliner, for example, the police and the the Sekatan Raya. That's the point here. That's the point here. You can look in the story also, the journalism orientation based on the ownership theory. Yeah. So also we talking about political economic theory. Yeah, political economic theory. Yeah. So, but the point here, we also must be differentiate between journalists and netizen. Journalists mean that they've been trained as a journalist. They have qualification, journalism qualification, for example, from UKM, from Mention, from UATM, from all the IPTs in Malaysia. But netizen, actually, they don't have any basic of writing style. They don't know about the implication. They don't know about the what is called the impact of the media. So that what they think, they just want to throw the idea. They don't bother about the ethic, about the policy, and some part of the story against with the government and also rule and regulation as well. Right. We call Undang-Undang Malaysia. So that this part of the point why we looking the bias of journalism, because most of the story actually they have their own we call motives, more to attack instead of to support the government. As we know that they have political motive, they have political agenda as well. So in this MCO, actually blend into one, two pandemic and politics. So that's the point here.
Okay, Dato', thank you so much. I have another question actually to Dato' as well. I'm quite curious on how did you come up with the number 2,800% to Dato'? I am quite curious with that.
Okay, actually, because like this, because we based on the all the story come to the system, right? All the system actually filtering all the story. But our study actually more to looking all the story contents, for example, libel and slander. I mean, again, with the government. And through this system, actually we use system in MCMC, my friend from MCMC, the system, you can detect all the story come to the system, and then when we detect, then they can you can look the amount, the number increasing, increasing. That during the study showed that once you send anything in your handphone, either through social media, Twitter, or through Facebook or wherever, right? Then can be detected by the system, right? And the system will be accumulatively account, and then we could get all the number. So that the number increased 2,800%, within 6 months. Means that they show that the fake news during MCO actually, wow, fantastic, but havoc actually.
Yes. That's why it's like, I think it's so astounding that there's so much fake news being spread, up to 2,800%. I think Dato, you should write about this in the newspaper. It's a very interesting very, I think, very impactful number, and shows that how spread news is so widespread, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you so much, Prof. Dato. Okay, I would like to call upon Cik Jamali Bujang. Cik Jamali, is your computer already okay? Because I just wanted to listen to maybe one or two, a few words about your research from yourself. Cik Jamali, is your is your technical problem solved, or is it still Okay, while we wait for Cik Jamali, I do have a question. Yes.
I do have a question for for Dr. Ali Reza.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so when I was looking at your slides, you were talking about how Iran exploits the mass media, right? So which came to me, I was thinking about cultivation theory, which is basically showing people what they want to see, or someone just seeing what this person wants to see and not seeing the other side of a story. Okay, so my question is, since they have complete control over what their people can watch, do they instill some sort of ideology where they're trying their best to help to, how do we say it, to cope up with COVID-19, or what type of ideologies are they presenting on mass media, because they have so much of control over it, and how they what do they see, what do they show their people in mass media?
Actually, you see, mass media is, I'm talking about Iran. Mass media is very wide. When you want to propagate certain ideology into society, you have many ways. From most important way is perhaps popular culture. I mean, like music videos, entertaining game shows, a variety of stuff. Another way is news, of course. But my focus was on media events. Media events were defined as live broadcasts with significant historical significance, such as Olympic Games, for example, is a media event, or terrorist attacks when they are live captured and broadcast to people. Another thing is like ceremonies, royalty ceremonies, this kind of like Merdeka here, you see it is live broadcast, is a media event. And the purpose of it is to unite people, basically from ideological perspective, saying that, okay, you're under one flag. On the nature of the government, they can do their own things. If they're democratic, of course, different. In totalitarian countries, is totally different. They bring people together, they unite them through media events for certain benefits for the state. And this is what I was trying to point in my research. And more specifically, I focus on new trends that emerged through pandemic, because before this, nobody pointed to, they just in general said, yes, the government doing so and so. But I realized that during pandemic, they increased this kind of exploitation of mass media. Manipulate public opinions and public beliefs, ideologies in the country. So, for example, and one thing you mentioned, I think, what kind of ideologies in every country is different. In Iran, for example, the main ideology currently is an anti-West ideology, which has been, practicing, the government was practicing since Islamic Revolution more than 4 decades ago. The main focus is to go against West, Western culture, Western politics, whatever related to the West. So this kind of ideology currently they're practicing, but during pandemic, they tried to use unfolding discourses of pandemic in their own favor. At one stage, they said, the highest authority in the country, the supreme leader himself, appeared on media event and said, this is a hoax. Coronavirus is a hoax. But later on, he couldn't deny, because globally it was acknowledged, the seriousness of the pandemic was acknowledged. So he came up with another strategy and said that American vaccines or Western vaccine basically are banned. We don't trust West. We don't import West. We wait for our own vaccine, our own companies to come up with vaccines, then we use that. And many people, of course, they said he himself received, for example, Pfizer, and doesn't care about people. And people now, which Iranian vaccine came out, they promoting very hard to people vaccines. Many people, they say it's just water, it's not even vaccine. But this kind of things happening, then they take advantage of pandemic and come up with this kind of media events to manipulate the ordinary people out there through their use control over mass media, because they're totally owned by the state in Iran.
So do you think that they are brainwashing their citizens with the media that they're showing? Do they have freedom to watch what they want?
Yes, they have freedom to a certain extent. And for example, many websites which are freely you can watch here, you cannot access in Iran, like Facebook or YouTube. You cannot get YouTube in Iran, but people use certain bypassing technologies to get. Is you mentioned about this one theory, right? Cultivation theory, right? Cultivation theory, I think, is not really relevant to this research that I presented. Cultivation theory basically is about how in long term watching excessive amount of television, for example, can affect your perception of real life, real world. So if you watch too much violence in TV, it correlates with your perception with the outside world's violence. You perceive outside more dangerous than whatever it is in reality. So, but this one is about manipulation mostly. It's not about cultivation.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Ali. I think that's a very insightful answer. And it really reminded me of your PhD study, actually, because you did although it's not political, it's more of a popular culture study for your PhD, but it really actually shows how Iranians are sort of controlled in a way with what they are exposed to. Although, like you said, although they have the freedom to choose, but the things that they can choose from is very limited. Right?
Exactly. Another point was actually I need to mention is during pandemic, people tend to rely on mass communication. I mean, mainstream media than other means of communication like social media, things like that, because they directly need to receive regulations regarding their own immediate context. What is illegal now? If I go out tonight, they might, find me breaking the rules, things like that, SOPs. Significance is there, but the significance of mainstream is there, but unfortunately, the government using this opportunity for in its own favor, not people.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Ali.
Thank you.
Okay, I would now like to invite Cik Jamali Bujang to give a few words about his research. Cik Jamali?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
All right.
perfectly.
Okay. All right. Assalamualaikum and good afternoon to everyone. Okay, my studies basically try to identify or try to determine the kind of agenda setting that taking place on Twitter among several media organizations in Malaysia, particularly the mainstream media, the online portal, and also the government-owned media. So in my paper just now, basically I'm looking at the prominence of issues that being being shared by all these media organizations on their Twitter platform. And in particular, I'm looking at the final year of the Barisan Nasional administration of this country, because this is basically part of my thesis. There will be another part which is post GE14, and I'm going to look at the first year under different leadership and how the agenda setting, what kind of issues or information that all these media organizations are sharing on their Twitter platform. Other than that, I also want to look at how the media organization themselves are influencing each other agenda, which is intermedia agenda setting, that sense. So that's why I'm implementing some of those cross-like analysis, time series analysis, just to look at the causal relationship between agendas among the media.
I see.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Cik Jamali. Okay, is there any any other burning question? Because I do see there are more people entering this session. So does anybody have any questions to ask any of our presenter, Dr. Ali, Prof. Dato Ismail, Cik Jamali, or even Mr. Ree? Anyone? Okay, rasa kalau tak
I
ada.
have one last
Okay,
question.
so okay, sure. Go ahead.
This is also directed to Mr. Ali Reza about the theory, because I'm quite curious to know what theory that the Iranian government used on their people. So is it information manipulation theory?
Information manipulation theory. It can be under the umbrella of manipulation theory. Manipulation can take many forms, right? So if from one perspective, yes, you can say that, but this is specifically on a certain issue in the certain context, and it's basically manipulation, but how it's manipulated and for what purpose
like for an
case is
example,
different.
how the Supreme Leader was saying that the COVID was a hoax. So was
Yes.
that sort of like a manipulation theory, telling people that he's manipulating his people, saying that COVID was a hoax, even though it didn't work at the end of the day?
Yes, they keep changing. Change the story as it unfolds in their own favor. They keep manipulating the information. In that sense, yes, it's manipulation theory. Manipulation theory is a basic umbrella theory. You can bring in any type of media manipulation or agenda setting under that, I think. As long as ideology is involved, is kind of manipulation, basically.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, thank you so much. I think we shall end our session so that to give you guys time to go through the next parallel session. So I'm going to pass, I would just like to thank all of you again, especially to the presenters, for your presentation. I believe it's so insightful. And also I would again like to invite all of you to attend the networking session for media literacy in society. Because like I said, it will be attended by representatives from Fact Check Lab, UNESCO, and also our very first Media Literacy Educator Association. Okay, I'm going to pass this floor back to our MC. Elida, are you here?
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Sabaria. With that, we end our parallel session this afternoon. And ladies and gentlemen, you are all invited to join this seminar on TikTok consumption of information among Gen Z in Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines. That's going to take part on 27th November 2021. Okay, for the next session, we'll start at 5 p.m. That is the final part of our session today. Before we end the session, thank you to Associate Professor Dr. Sabaria Muhammad Saleh, all the presenters and participants for this enlightening and fruitful discussion. Please show your appreciation by clicking on the reaction button below. After this session, please feel free to join any breakout room if you wish to watch other presentations. Hope to see you again in the next session and next mentioned conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Alida. Thank you to all presenters.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.